Modesty Testimony podcast. I am your host, Sister Jakira, and we are back with another podcast. I'm really happy to be here today. I'm really glad to be here. First and foremost, we want to give all glory and all honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who is the head of my life and the center of all that I do. And I want to give him all glory, all honor, and all praise. And this podcast is not for vainglory or to glory in the past, but we just like to touch on modesty topics, touch on modest fashion, and we also touch on various different topics that are life related, period. So the podcast is called The Modesty Testimony because the foundation of the podcast is about modest fashion and transitioning into modesty and your testimony in this holy way. But we also branch off and touch on various different topics, very life related topics, because I love deep conversations and meaningful conversations. And I be having a lot of talks and prayer and off camera that are real deep conversations and deep talks. And I talk to God about these things. I talk to myself about these things. And sometimes it can feel like things are going on and it seems like nobody's talking about these things. Or it can just seem like, subjects might not get touched on, or if people are talking about these different topics, they might be held behind closed doors and maybe not openly or publicly for people to talk about them or hear them on a podcast and things like that. So I really like to dive into topics that are a little on the, I don't want to say on the heavier side or on the deeper side, but just the things that should be talked about, and like just some real deep and real things that need to be talked about. And it could be other people going through these things, and let's bring these conversations to the light. A lot of us are um located in different areas around the world. If you're in the faith, if you're not, welcome. God bless you. I pray you enjoy also. But yeah, and it's just a lot of things that go on in life. A lot of hurt, a lot of pain, sometimes a lot of unresolved issues, different things like that that go on, things that we've experienced, things that we've walked through. And I always thank God for my testimony and mercy, because I was in the world all of my life. I didn't grow up in church. I went to church a couple times as a kid, but I didn't grow up in church. I was in the world all my life. And I really thank God for my testimony and mercy, because I've experienced a lot of things. So I wanted to talk about something very, I don't even know what to call it, very, very very heartfelt, very heartfelt. You might see these videos and be like, Jakira, you be coming with the topics. Glory to God. All glory to God. But I wanted to touch on something very, very, very heartfelt today. So the topic today is falling in love again, but this time with God. So falling in love again. Okay. I like these conversations to be thought provoking. You might need to have this conversation with yourself. You might even need to pray about certain things in this type of conversation, because there could be unresolved issues in your heart. But I like the conversations that are thought provoking. Like, I like when I watch podcasts and I start answering the questions from the person's podcast, or I turn the podcast off or pause it and I start asking myself questions about what that host is talking about and things like that. So this topic is falling in love again, this time with God. So glory to God for one of the sisters. She was very encouraging. She gave a compliment about research. I had did a little research on one of the previous podcasts, and she liked that. So now, Lord will, I'm gonna be going into these podcasts with a little research. Doing a little research and just seeing what the internet is saying about these type of things. Um, mainly Google, just seeing what they're saying about these type of things. So we're gonna get into it. We're not gonna waste no time. We're not gonna waste no time. I'm kind of excited to talk about this. So, like I said, falling in love again, this time with God. So I don't know if you've ever been in love. I don't know if you've ever experienced love. But we're gonna talk about how we carnally view love, how we have loved, how we approached love, pursued love, and things we tolerated in love. Okay, a lot. Oh, listen, a lot of the things that I can only speak for myself, but based off of things we see in the media and things like that, a lot of things that we called love wasn't even love. That's why I said we're going to talk about how we carnally viewed love, because a lot of things that we thought were love wasn't love. Like, some people try to make love mean what they want it to mean, and it doesn't work like that. And that's why a lot of situations that people call themselves being in love end up the way that they do, because everybody wants to come up with their own perspective and definition of what love is. And that's what the problem is. Like, that's a part of the problem. That's a part of the problem. So bringing some research in, let's tell y'all what they said. So they said here, people fear falling in love again, primarily to protect themselves from repeating past emotional pain. This hesitation often stems from deep heartbreak, severe trust issues, or emotional exhaustion, where the perceived risk of future suffering outweighs the potential rewards of a new relationship. Common psychological reasons: fear of repeated pain, past betrayal, rejection, or harsh breakups leave deep emotional scars that make people reluctant to risk vulnerability again. Emotional exhaustion. Rebuilding a bond takes immense energy. Recovering from previous heartbreak can leave people feeling empty and unable to invest emotionally. Loss of control or independence. Some associate deep attachment with losing their personal freedom. What's this other word? Autonomy or something like that, or a sense of self. Unresolved trauma. Deep seated attachment wounds or baggage from childhood or past relationships distort how a person trusts new partners. Perspective on guarded hearts. It says many individuals on Reddit agree that the pain of past relationships creates a lasting defense barrier, making it difficult to fully open or trust anyone new. Users on Quora express mixed opinions. Some view love as an inevitable cycle of shattered illusions and pain, while others believe that reframing the experience allows past failures to serve as lessons rather than a permanent block. So, as we can see here, falling in love again is very, very, very scary for a lot of people. It comes with emotional exhaustion. Some people feel like they lose control or independence, past trauma. It's a lot that goes into the way people feel about falling in love again. So I wrote down some questions for myself and questions that you could probably ask your own self. And I'm going to answer them, and you can pause well, it's live. It's live. You can't pause and answer, but if you watch it on a playback, you could pause and answer these questions yourself. So the first question I have is, why are people afraid to love again? Now, I can't answer for everybody. I can only answer from my own experiences and what I've seen, things that I also have seen or closely have been related to. So I can answer coming from that. You can answer this for yourself. But from my experiences, why are people afraid to love again? Like they said, people are scared of getting hurt again. Like, that be one of the main things, that people are afraid of being hurt again. Like they said, it takes a lot of time to get to know someone, to invest your time in someone, and it ends up not working out. You can end up feeling like you wasted your time. Or even if it did start getting somewhere and then someone ends up hurting someone or whatever the case may be, it's like nobody wants to continue to do that. Some people walk away from situations and don't get closure. Some people walk away from situations, they don't get closure, or some people get ghosted, things like that. And situations just don't always work out for the best. It's various reasons. Some people may have been in love and then someone passed away. Like, it's various different reasons why people are just afraid to fall in love again. So you can answer that for yourself, but there's a list. We can go on and on about why people are afraid, to do that. Maybe some of the main things are people are afraid of getting hurt again. You don't want to give so much of yourself, and then next thing you know, the person is gone or something happens or something like that. So a lot of those reasons are why a lot of people are afraid. The next question asks, what mistakes do people make when falling in love? Oh my goodness. Y'all know I'm a piece of work, but we gonna laugh because this kind of heavy. This is kind of heavy. It's kind of deep. It's kind of one of those ones like, woo, this is something. But what mistakes do people make when falling in love? From my experiences, I would say the mistakes that people make are giving too much of themselves. Some people give a lot of themselves when they fall in love with people. Like, some people fall in love and it becomes toxic. It becomes obsessive. It becomes like they just start giving too much of themselves. From my own experiences, I've even witnessed, like, giving so much of yourself to the point where if that person is having a bad day, now you're having a bad day. If that person is not happy, you're not happy. Like, they have too much, like, you're giving them too much power. You've given them too much of yourself. That's a mistake that I've seen and known that people make when falling in love. So yeah, what mistakes do people make when falling in love? That's one of the main things I'll say, is giving too much of yourself. Just opening up yourself completely, giving people so much of yourself when only God deserves that. Like, just giving so much, telling so much information. A lot of things. Also, mistakes that people make when falling in love are moving too fast. Some people move too fast. Like, they either fall in love too fast or be vulnerable, be gullible, just be eating up the person's words, and that's not good. Obviously, that is a big mistake, to be moving that fast. Moving fast to move somebody in, moving fast to do anything is not a good sign. Like, so things like that just end up in tragedy in a lot of cases. um Moving on to the next question. What makes a person emotionally exhausted? What can make a person emotionally exhausted, in my experiences, are, you might be like someone that's in love with the wrong person. If you're in love with the wrong person, or if you're in love with somebody that's not for you, then obviously a lot of emotional exhaustion can happen, because you and this person aren't really compatible. Like, they don't really get you. They haven't really taken the time to figure you out. You might not even be right for them. And obviously, that's going to lead to emotional exhaustion if, one person is taking and the other one is giving, and things like that. That can lead to emotional exhaustion. Also, emotional exhaustion can also come from, like I said, falling in love, things not working out, and then you have to get to know someone all over again. Like, that can be very exhausting to do on the mental and on the emotions. Next question says, can falling in love make a person feel a loss of control or independence? In my experience, I will say yes, it can make you feel like you've lost control or independence when you give somebody so much of yourself. Going back to the giving somebody so much of yourself. Like when you do that, then in certain cases, people take control over the other person, and they want them to come in at a certain time, and they want to know where they are, and they want your location on, and all these things that are really draining. And you can probably feel like you don't have, you don't know who you are anymore. Like some people give people so much of themselves that they lose their self outside of that person. Like you might have been a person before this person came along. You might have been someone, let's say you went to the gym and you read books and you like to cook and you like to have hobbies and things like that. But now that you got invested and involved with this person and you gave this person so much of yourself, and now all your time is going here, and all your interests are going in, you so into them that all your interests are going into what they like and what they want to do, that you end up losing yourself and losing your own independence, because now you're involved with this individual and it's all about them now. So that still ties into giving someone too much of yourself. um the next question says, unresolved trauma, question mark, what are some? So it's a two-part question. Unresolved trauma. What are some unresolved traumas? Um, hmm. Unresolved traumas. Unresolved traumas, in my experience, could be things that have hurt you in the past, in a previous relationship. It can also be unresolved traumas. It doesn't have to be like a relationship that you were in with someone, but could have been childhood also. The way you learned love as a child, the way you learned love in your household, the way love was presented to you. And that can be things that you never really healed from. That can be things that you never really got answers to, or you never really learned much of. And you go inviting these things into relationships. Hmm. Why do people bring this to new relationships? Why do people bring this to new relationships? In my experience, because that's what I'm going to say, you have to answer these things for yourself, and everybody obviously has a different walk of life. In my experience, why do people bring these things to new relationships? Because they don't take the time to heal from what happened. They don't take the time to do the groundwork. They don't take the time to revisit these issues and sort these things out mentally or in their emotions. So they just go on to the next person and they bring these things with them. Like, you're gonna bring with you these problems. If you didn't try to figure this out, if you didn't try to heal from these things, if you didn't try to do the necessary work to get yourself together in whatever area it is that you have trauma in, you're gonna show up in friendships, relationships, and things like that still with this baggage. The next question says, what causes a person to rebound after relationships? If you don't know what rebounding is when someone is in a relationship and immediately after that relationship is over, they're in another relationship. So they don't really take the time to be alone. They don't really take the time, just like the previous question we were talking about, why do people bring things to relationships? Sometimes it's because of cases like this, rebounding cases. Sometimes it's in cases like this. There are some people who don't like to be alone. They don't enjoy being alone at all. They just don't really like it. So if one situation is over, they're ready to go into the next situation, hoping that it will heal them from what just happened. And if something like that doesn't work, then they're hoping that the next situation they go into will, they're hoping that a rebound situation, if someone gets hurt, they're trying to go to the next person to jump into something new, hoping that they can forget about what happened, hoping that this new relationship will heal the pain from what happened. So instead of taking the time to be by themselves or taking the time to just sit with themselves, he'll go over in their mind and just take the time to be alone. Instead of doing that, they just go off to the next person because they don't really want to deal with the emotions and all that you have to go through after a breakup or something happens. Instead of sitting there going through all of that, they rather just go to the next person. And they're hoping that in all of what's going on with this next person, they can forget about this last person. So that's what rebound is. If you don't know what that is or never heard what that is, that's what that is. So that's what causes a person to rebound after relationships. So we're moving on to the next question because this podcast is talking about falling in love again, but this time with God. How can all of this make it fearful or challenging for a person to give God all their heart? So, all these questions that I just asked, all these things that we just talked about, how can all of those things make it challenging or fearful for a person to give God all their heart? Because, like we were talking about, obviously, all these things that we just listed that's going to leave a person with fear to fall in love. It's going to leave a person with emotional exhaustion. It's going to leave a person with, I don't want to start over. It's going to leave a person with, just like they said, they don't want to lose themselves again. It's going to leave a person with, is someone going to have control over me? It's going to leave a person with so much. So people they can feel fear. They can feel fear to fall in love again. It might not necessarily be about like falling in love with God that they're afraid of, but just the act of falling in love again at all. So I had another question, and this question was a personal question. It says, did you find it hard to fall in love with God? So I'm going to answer this question. And like I said, if you're watching this on the playback, you can pause it and answer for yourself. Did I find it hard to fall in love with God? That is a beautiful question. And at the same time, it's like, oh, so me, myself, I wouldn't say that I found it hard to fall in love with God, but I wouldn't say that I found it easy either. Because I was a person that loved love, and all my life, like even all my years in the world and everything, I wanted love. Like I wanted love. I wanted that real love though. Like I wanted like love, real love, loyal love, like just genuine, real, loyal, down for each other, just that there forever, I love you forever type of love. So finding out and learning that God offered that kind of love, and that's the love he wants from me, it was beautiful because I wanted that fatherly love. I wanted that loyal love that's never going to go away. You're never going to get tired of me. Like I can have you every day forever. Like I love love. So so for that part didn't make it hard for me to fall in love with God because he he gives all that. But what I did find hard about falling in love with God was the act of just falling in love again, period. Like there was one point in my life when I never wanted to fall in love again. Like there was a point in my life where like I wanted to fall in love again, but I didn't want to fall in love giving all my heart again or giving all of myself again. So that was the part that I kind of want to say was a little bit challenging, touching falling in love with God, because it was at one point in my life that I made it up in my mind that I never wanted to fall in love and give all of myself again. So I had to get myself together in that department because he wants that from me. So that was the challenging part, I would say. And lastly, we're gonna be closing out this podcast with some encouragement. And it says, God is perfect and unlike anyone or experience you've ever had. So obviously we were talking about falling in love again, but this time with God. And we all have various different reasons why we probably didn't want to fall in love again or why it was scary to fall in love again. But obviously, for some last words of encouragement, God is obviously not like anyone or any love experience or what we thought was love. He's not like anyone we've ever been with, or any experience that we've ever had. So that tells you all you need to know. And that should encourage you on why you shouldn't be afraid to fall in love again, especially if it's with him. So, thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed our time together. If you catching the replay, I'm glad you're here. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, if you can relate to this, and let me know your feedback and everything in the comments. I always appreciate you guys' comments. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I thank you so much for your love and support. Y'all be showing so much love, and I'm really grateful for every single comment that comes this way, that you come over here, you enjoy this channel, and that you're subscribing and everything. So I hope this encouraged you and can be a breath of fresh air, can be some questions that you ask your own self, could be something that you can even pray about. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this podcast. Thank you for coming over. Thank you for watching. And as always, I will catch you on the next one. Peace be.